You are now tuned into the sounds of what black men like.
The number one apex in the world. I know there's something absolutely unique about these guys.
Excellent podcast.
Women standing up for themselves. Okay.
We are back. Best podcast in the game. You are now tuned into the sounds of what black men like. Welcome back to What Black Men Like, the Black Man's Lifestyle Podcast. This is yours truly, Mr. No Cap. Of course, we got our regular cast of characters in the building. And today we got a very special guest, a legendary guest, some would say. I'm just going to let him introduce himself and talk about who he is and where he's from. We got the man, the myth, the legend, Pimpin Ken. Pimpin Ken, can you come in here and introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, brother, thank you for the introduction. That was very honorable of you. First of all, I would just like to let the people know that my original name, my government name is Kenneth Ivy. I was born in Chicago, Illinois in 1964. I grew up in the projects. My mama and my pops, they were from Mississippi. They was part of the Great Migration, coming from Mississippi, looking for opportunity. My father ended up in the street being a little hustler, gambler, pool sharp. So, I was exposed to certain lifestyles as a child. And so being in Chicago at that time, there was a lot of crime, there was a lot of drugs, there's a lot of things going on. It was pretty fast paced. So at 14, I caught a case with my brother. It was attempted murder. My brother pushed somebody onto the L train tracks. So the white boy was drunk and irate, and he tried to, call us N-words and stuff like that. And so my brother, just snapped and pushed him because I was with him. I got a party to a crime. Police beat us up, brutality, stomped us, kicked us, beat us for hours. And we were number 14. My brother was 16. And they sent us to an adult jail. And we ended up being in the county jail with the gang bangers, people getting stabbed and all that. So that was very traumatic for a young kid at 14. But fortunately, my daddy was a player. He taught us the game. So we knew how to communicate on ground people level. So we was able to overcome that. My mother, she got scared and got us up out of there. We went to Milwaukee. I called a case. As soon as I got there, one of my partners, me and him stole some checks, and we tried to cash checks with somebody else's name on there. That's how dumb we was back then.
What year was this?
This when I was 14, so you got to figure like almost 40-some years ago, 42 years ago, I'm 60, 46 years ago. So that happened, and then I started hustling. When I went to jail, they taught me how to be a better criminal. So I started robbing banks, and we started robbing jewelry stores. Then I went back. So when I came out of jail, my friend JD, who was from Chicago as well, he was in the Pimp game. So he had 3 girls. And I asked him, can I have one? I didn't know what pimping was. I didn't know what the hell I was asking for. I just said, man, can I have one of them girls? He said, which one you want? I said, give me one that's light bright, almost white with the coochie candy stripe. Her name was Dirty Red. I talk about it in my book, Pimpology, The 40 Laws of Game. So she taught me the game. That's how I got introduced to the pimping. That's how I really got started, And then from there, some things happened. I was used to robbing banks, and I was getting more money robbing banks. We stole millions of dollars over the course of some years. Then I ended up getting caught, and I ended up going to jail, and that ended my pimp career. So while I was in jail, I met some ex-pimps, and they taught me the game. And so when I came home, I had to make a choice. Do I sell dope or do I get back in that game? And so I said, man, I'm just gonna try this because I was a nice looking young man at the time, and women loved me. They was always chasing me anyway, but I wasn't interested in having sex for free. You know what I mean? Because I was taught, that you gotta have a meat on your Peter. The longer they stay, the longer you have to pay. So Dick your handsome time to pay your ransom. If you're gonna take a chance, make sure you get your cash in advance. That's what I was taught. So you know what I mean? I used that philosophy, and it made me millions and millions of dollars, and it made me famous worldwide. Eventually, I ended up going to a players ball with Bishop Don Juan in '95. HBO, Ice-T was there. It was in Chicago, so HBO was there. So HBO approached me because I had like 7 women with me. I had black and white meat. I had about $1 million of jewelry, all kind of slick cars and shit, And so I was doing really well for myself from the pimping. I told them to come to Milwaukee and I negotiated, and that's how I got into the entertainment. That's what created the retirement from the Pimp game, because when HBO was shooting, I had enough money at that time I could shoot my own project at the same time. I told them they got to make me the star of the movie. I said I got to be a consultant. I want my name on the credits and everything. Not really knowing what I was doing, but just knowing that if these people was really HBO and they come into the hood and they spend all these millions of dollars filming a bunch of ghetto Negroes, I'm like, man, this going to be really big. So I just went from there, and did my own movie called Pimpology, and I got a distribution deal. And then from that, I officially got out the game. And then in around 2000, Jermaine Dupri came to me and asked me to be on his album with Pimp C and Bun B. That sold
Yep.
millions of copies. And then after that, Too Short came. We did 2 albums together. That sold millions of copies. And then Lil Jon came. We did about 8 million with Lil Jon, Mac 10, 50 Cent. Just everybody just started coming to me. That was the transition in my life. So I'm no longer pimping. Now I'm a celebrity. You know what I mean? I'm making millions of dollars doing music and getting on this people album and doing my own movies. And then, from there, I ended up starting my own organization called the Hip Hop Fraternity. That was about 4 years ago. And when I started that,
Okay.
we fed all the kids free. I let the kids perform for free. Members, they started joining. We became a family. And then, I gave them the game on hip hop and I started teaching them about ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, the blockchain, cryptology, all these great things. I just started teaching them. Then, next thing you know, everybody wants to know was hip hop attorney. So I went on the Breakfast Club, Drink Champs, Off the Porch, Beehive, Boss Talk,
Yeah,
major
but
platforms.
you've been running through these platforms recently. I've been seeing you on all these platforms,
Yeah,
really
because
making
they
waves
want
out
to know
there.
about my organization, because they want to know what is this I told them it's a black think tank. I said hip hop is the second largest genre. I mean, it's the second largest export of American export. It's the number one genre of music. I said,
Mm.
it's created more millionaires and billionaires for black people than any other entity in the history of America. This is our industrial revolution. I
Mm.
said that it's the new Black Wall Street. I said Black Wall Street had a GDP of 2.5 billion. Jay-Z is worth 2.5 billion. One man is worth the entire GDP of Black Wall Street. Kanye at one time was worth 6 or 7 billion. He was worth 3 times the value. So you can't
Wow.
name any other thing, Harvard, Yale, or Princeton, Columbia University. Neither one of those prestigious institutions created anything remotely compared to what hip hop has done for the African American community. I'm
Wow.
currently working at the White House. I just sent King Moore. If y'all look him up, King Moore, he's an 8-year-old kid. I just sent him to the White House and I sent him there to go meet President Biden, under our organization. Hip Hop, he's the youngest member of our organization. So, we just signed Mike Fresh. Mike Fresh, he has 20 billion streams. He got that song, Throw That Ass in a Circle. She bounce when she walk. He's also signed to me. So, if you want to know who Ken is, that's why you asked me pimping. I said, yeah, I'm pimping Ken because I'm pimping me now. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no more. I'm not pimping them. Well, he's a
Uh,
dirty, no good pimp. I said, remember, Malcolm was a pimp too now. Now,
yes,
y'all,
yes.
if you don't like Malcolm, if you don't like me, you got to hate Malcolm. Because Malcolm was a pimp. He was a
Red
bully.
Fox was a gangster.
Yeah,
They was hanging
yeah, oh,
together.
yeah. So and people got Malcolm hanging on their wall. But the problem with our people is they don't want us to make transitions. They'll talk about Jay-Z, who's a admitted drug dealer. They'll talk about 50, who's a admitted drug dealer. They'll talk about all these people who talk about they hustling and gangsters and killers. But then, a pimp will get more time than a rapist. You know what I'm saying? And prostitution, last I heard, it's a volunteer thing. You know what I'm saying? A woman don't have to sell her body. But
Right.
people got this perception that pimps make women sell their body. That's not true. In the pimp game, you got to get chose with your mouth closed. If a woman don't choose you, you got to remember she go past 2 ambulances, 5 police cars, and the Salvation Army before she get to the pimp. She don't ask neither one of them to save her. You know what I'm saying? So, but people, the way it's marketed and advertised, a lot of people don't know it's a criminal side to it. It's about the criminal justice system. We don't understand the magnitude, and listen to the word, that's a big word, magnitude, how ginormous it is when it comes to the mass incarceration of black men. Let me give you an example. Before you go to down in the pimping and say, oh, these black men out here putting these women out there, you know what I'm saying? You got to remember, you know what I'm saying? Prostitution is the world of the profession. We didn't even know we were slaves when they was pimping. You know what I'm saying? The worst pimp was the one bringing a man from his homeland and put him and make him work for 250 years. We always talk about the black man is the scum of the earth. No, whoever enslaved the black man and brought him over here against his will is the scum of the earth. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about how you make somebody work all day, every day. They didn't talk about human trafficking. They the original human trafficking. You know what I'm saying?
Before you get off on that tangent, because I want you to really expound on that, I want to go back and talk about, you mentioned a lady named Dirty Red, I believe was her name, and you talked about her putting you onto the game. I want you to kind of go into that a little bit and tell us how this woman actually put you onto the game.
Well, a lot of people don't know. Inside the pimp game, it's a culture. So this woman, she wanted me to be the best pimp. She wanted me to, she took me to get my hair whipped up. Back then you used to get the perms and shit like that. She took me to the perm. She dressed me. She told me, how to get at other girls. And it's a culture, and everybody in that game accepts it. The only people that don't accept it is people that don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? But in every situation, there's a pimp and a hoe. Uncle Sam is a pimp. If you don't pay him by April 15, he's gonna put you under pimp arrest. But nobody talks about that. The question I want to say to you and your audience that if black men in particular are the ones that beating these women up, putting all these women out, this myth that's going on, then why are all these women on OnlyFans? Why is all of them on Craigslist and they don't have pimp? You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna sell coochie regardless of what. They don't need no pimp to sell coochie. A lot of these women just giving it away for a Happy Meal. You know what I'm saying? You can walk up to them and take them to McDonald's and they'll pull their panties down. You know what I'm saying? They don't talk about that. You know what I'm saying? They just talk about the part that is promoted by the powers that be. You know what I'm saying? So in a nutshell, yeah, Red, she gave me the game. She loved the game. She was down with me. You know what I'm saying? She showed me all the ropes and stuff like that. And then, a lot of my partners went through the same thing. And then everybody that I met in the game, they was happy to be in the game. It was like a lifestyle. But that was my first broad. So I'm going to deviate from that. I'm going to digress from that and say, look, the majority of the women in my career, and I had a long career, and I was the #1 international. I won every trophy. I was #1 in the country. Majority of women, they love the debonair men. They love a well-dressed man. They love the way I talk. They love the way I smell. And they just wanted to be with me. Very seldom, what I'm saying, do you meet a woman that work at McDonald's or work in a prestigious job or have a regular job that want to be in the game. Most of the women that I talked to that was in the game, they were traumatized. Some of them been raped. Some of them, their fathers was no good, their brothers was no good, and they feel that their virginity was taken. So they learned that their body is a weapon. So a lot of women, once they get molested or raped and stuff like that, and they see these old men fiending on them, they realize they can get some ice cream. They can get, a pair of jeans. They can get something from this old man. And that become a culture. And even today, you look at Sexy Red, you look at all these people, and Cardi B, and Megan Thee Stallion, they call themselves hoes and bitches, and they talk about some eat my booty out and all that stuff. And nobody talk about that. Let me say this to the audience right quick. Listen to this, y'all. The reason why the black man in the ghetto is targeted for pimping, drug dealing, and all this other criminality is because America criminal justice system solely depends on the ignorance of black men. Why do I say that? America is 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's incarceration. Listen to what I'm finna say. 25% of the people locked up in the world are from America. 13% of the people in America are African Americans. When you exclude women, children, and disability people, there's 6% left. 6% of black men are eligible to go to prison today. 18 to 35 are eligible to go to prison right now today.
Exactly.
50% of the people that's incarcerated are
Black
African Americans. So that means that 12.5% of us in the world, we represent 12.5% out of 6 billion people.
The social engineer.
Social engineer. And another thing, the black man is worth more in prison than he is walking around working a decent job at McDonald's. Because the prison system has become a bureaucracy.
Free labor.
That's it. And it's also called CCA, Correctional Corporation of America. If you look it up right now, it's on the New York Stock Exchange. When they say that Michael Jordan had money in prison, what they really meant is that he had his money in the venture capital firms. They invest in prisons because it's a very lucrative business. So when black men got smart and stopped selling drugs, here's the last thing I'm going to tell you. Then I'm going to get off this subject. So back when I was a kid, when I was in my 20s, they had Scarface, they had New Jack City. What did niggas do? Niggas started putting posters of Scarface everywhere. Everybody wanted to be Scarface. Then after New Jack City, everybody wanted to be Nito Brown. All my friends were squares. After New Jack City and Scarface, they did, but then something else happened. You had the crime bill with Joe Biden, 84 crime bill. Crack was 10 times the value of powder. White people were smoking powder, black folks were smoking crack. So if you get a year, you get 10 years if you sold crack. So that happened. Then they had the gun law. You know what I'm saying? The gun laws came right after people started selling crack. Because once you sell crack, you got to protect the crack. So you start killing each other. But they say, oh, that's awesome. That's terrible. But what did the mafia? Y'all forgot about Al Capone? Y'all forgot about Lucky Luciano? They was killing. The Italians was doing the same thing we was doing. Anytime you put drugs or anything about got to do with money, people gonna rob because people starving, they hungry, and you know, so people gonna get guns to protect themselves. And once we got all those guns, they came with the gun laws. And then they say, okay, they get everybody 30, 40 years, people got long sentences. That shit played out. What they come with? Human trafficking. They showed you Pimps Up, Hold Down, American Pimp, Snoop Dogg, Pimpin, 50 Cent, P.I.M.P, T.I., Pimp Scott Click, Ludacris pimping all over the world, Nelly Pimp Juice. And then what they do? They came and locked the niggas up again. We keep falling for the same trick. That's why I denounced Pimps Up, Holds Down, and American Pimp. I just denounced it on Breakfast Club. I'm denouncing it everywhere I go because I know it was number the trick and a play to get African Americans into that prison system.
Now, Pimpin Ken, you just laid out a lot of information there for our audience. I want to toss this to Brittney Burna. She's someone that wasn't necessarily familiar with you prior to this. Brittney Burna, as someone that's learning all this stuff for the first time, what type of feedback do you have, and do you have any questions?
I wonder, so you kind of got into the part about the women, but what I wonder is for them how that healing process kind of looks. So like now that you understand the impact of it, what can those women also do to sort of help denounce? I guess turn off the appeal of everything because we doing the hoes and the bitches and it's being promoted all large, but like what do you think that women can do to step out of that?
What society can do to step out of, they could get rid of the Cardi B's and the Sexy Reds and all these women that's out here hoeing, you know what I'm saying, on another level that's influencing your daughter and my daughter and our kids. You know, they had the microphone. Man, look how these women dress now. They go look at YouTube. You ain't got to wonder what they look like. They showing you everything. I was just at the BET Awards. I swear to God, everybody got naked on there. A Glow Gorilla, a Megan Thee Stallion, all of them. So you don't blame it on the man. You don't blame it on the pimp because still that woman have a choice. That's why in the game, the pimp game, they say it's by choice and not by force. You understand me? So society is promoting, and then I want to say, first of all, you need a father and you need a man in the household. That's the first thing you need. You black women talking about y'all independent sisters. That's not the way. What y'all need to do, y'all need to hook up with these brothers, find you a good man, get off of Instagram, get off of Facebook, quit trying to get those likes and get you a real man. Get you a real man. There's some brothers left out here because guess what? The reason why the lion is the most ferocious and the king of the jungle is not because of his claws or his teeth. It's because of his roar. When he roars, he scared the shit out of elephants and giraffes. The reason why the man is the head of the household because of his Adam apple. You know what I'm saying? When I tell my daughter to sit down, she sit down. The absence of a man, that creates an imbalance in the household. Why you say that, kid? Because first of all, sisters, newsflash, who raising all the killers? If 98% of the household in the black community is ran by a single black woman, who raised all these killers? The reason why your son is killing and selling dope because he's trying to find manhood and he's getting it in the wrong place. He's getting it from killers. He's getting it from drug dealers. Both of my sons was raised with their mother and me. Both of my sons is in college. That dude, number 14 on All-American, that's my son. His name is Ken Ivey. That's my real son that play on All-American. You understand me? And they was able to have a father figure in the house. That's why my sons ain't out here gang banging and selling drugs and killing people. If y'all don't get a good man, build a relationship like we did in the 60s. My mom and my daddy was together until they died. So my daddy died. My daddy died when he was 67. They met at 16. I never was there without my dad. You know what I'm saying? Me say, well, why did you get in the streets? Well, okay, that was my choice. But I was able to change my life because of the principle that it didn't kick in until I was in my 20s. But once I got about 29, 30, I became a businessman. I started investing in real estate. I started doing all kind of positive stuff. I'm a literary agent. Boosie signed to me. Ice-T signed to me. They said, you put something in the child, and eventually that child will resonate. And that's what I did. And a lot of my partners, they not so lucky. You know what I'm saying? So I can't say my mother and my father didn't do a good job. I was just out there hustling, and I was grinding, and I wanted to build a name for myself because my daddy was
Wanting money,
popular.
yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't because I was raised wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
But I'm
you'll
saying,
have situations where you'll have a household where three of the children will turn out fine, and then you have that one that's like, I got to be in the streets, I got to see what's going on. So
and that's
you can't.
me. That's me.
That was
All
you.
I got 9 brothers and sisters. All of them did well for themselves.
He
But in
did.
answer to your question, sister, first of all, we got to deal with the mental.
You
Yeah,
touched on the trauma, and I love that you moved into, the black household and the family.
my sister, at 3 years old, I was molested by my babysitter. Right when I went to prison, my mama left me. She didn't want to come see me in prison. I was in prison for 6 years. That gave me a disdain towards women. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't realize it until I was in my 50s. The reason why I was so desensitized, and I had a triple bypass. I had all the sympathy removed out of my heart. I didn't have no sympathy because my issues were with women. You know what I'm saying? They was ingrained. They were psychological. It was the same thing with a lot of the ladies that was out there in the gang with me. I realized that most of the pimps and the hoes, all of them got traumatic experiences that results to mental illness. And that's why I could never learn. I didn't learn how to read until I was 19. Once I
Wow.
learned how to read, I went to college, and I was an A student. I made the dean list. But you know what I'm saying? That mental block, I used to bump my head when I was little because I was always trying to figure out what's going on with me. I knew what had happened to me, but I didn't know. I could wrap it around my brain as an adult. So I
Right.
had abandonment issues. All that shit affected me mentally. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know that, and it made me a cold, rootless person. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I was so cold in the street. Most people that's cold in the street, they don't have no sympathy. So by me not having sympathy, I moved the way I moved. That's why when a woman touched me, I didn't feel nothing. That's why when a woman wanted to have sex with me, I wanted to get money. Then no women is
Right.
the same thing because she paid me, but what the hell she was doing all those tricks? She was breaking them down, beating them, and talking crazy. Women, hoes is real ruthless. Y'all don't know that. Hoes is way ruthless than you could ever imagine. They
Oh
treat
yeah.
tricks like they
Oh
ain't
yeah.
nothing. So y'all feel sorry for her, but she's way ruthless than the pimp because the pimp don't have to deal with all those men every day. In order for a woman to deal with a man and take his money and have sex with him and tell him to get his punk ass out the way, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you got to be ruthless. So a lot of times, y'all don't even know the nature of a prostitute. You know what I'm saying? Women that's in the prostitute game, they going through the same trauma that the pimps going through. All black folks got PSTD. But check this out. When you go to the army, the niggas that went to Vietnam and Iraq, they in the veteran mental hospital right now. These niggas only go through this shit for a couple years, 4 years. We've been going through it all our life since kids. We've been hearing gunshots. So you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Exactly.
these are the issues that we got to talk about in the black community. You know what I'm saying? I mean, first of
Yeah.
all, we need jobs. The reason why we got a lot of crime because we don't have a lot of jobs, and black men can't be on welfare. And if the black woman on welfare, you can't stay in the house with her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to bring other co-hosts in here, Willie P. Do you have any questions for Pimpin Ken, or you want to talk about anything that you heard?
I got a couple of comments. What's up, Pimpin Ken?
What's up,
So,
nephew?
first thing I want to say to all the listeners out there, all black people ain't the same, right? And I don't want anybody to make that mistake because I think that's a lot of what have really fucked us up in the community is that everybody's trying to treat all black men like they're just the same. You go to the doctor, it's like, hey, look, I ain't even got to talk to you because I know what you need. Here's a prescription. No, you would be like, man, that's stupid as fuck. Right? If you go to a restaurant and then you sit down and they just bring you food, you're like, well, I didn't order. Well, I know what you need. Why? Because you black. I think really we need to really stop in the black community. We need to stop doing our enemies' job for them. I agree with what you said before. Like, hey, look, these men need a proper example of what a man is, what manhood is. But if we are their first example of what a man is, they hear us say all black men are the same, all black men are going through trauma and stuff like that, then guess what? We're putting that trauma in their head. It's not the enemy's fault or the adversary's fault. It's our fucking fault because we are regurgitating the shit that they put in our head. We got to have some kind of way to stop that shit. Now, another thing, I heard everybody, we were talking about the criminal justice system, and I agree that shit is fucked up, and we really got to fucking change it. It's not going to be anybody that goes out and change it for us. We got to change it ourselves, because guess what? There's no interest in changing it unless we create that interest, okay? Now, me, I'm a criminal justice major. I study criminal justice, also study criminology. That means I study crime, I study criminals, I study the nature of crime. In my studies, I know that yes, the prison population in America is fucking ridiculous. Some of this shit, yes, is by design. Plus, the prison system is the alternative to slavery. So what's going on with the prison system? There's a cap. There's a max number. That max number is I think it's like 2.3 million, 2.23 million. Right now, the prison population is at 2.1 million because they just released a lot of low-level offenders, and that happens. That happens every so often. They release a lot of low-level offenders because they're reaching their max. And I agree with what Burna said. It is that prison system is a way for them to get low cost or no cost services. Look at what happened during these wildfires, where they had these prisoners come out, fight the wildfires for fucking free, put their lives on the lines to fight these fucking wildfires, and then they go back. If they died, okay, well, a prisoner died. People don't have a heart like that. I agree that there are things that are absolutely fucked up in our community. There are things that need to change in our community, but what we cannot do is do everybody else's work for them.
Let me chime in. I want to ask you a question, brother. You're a criminal justice major, right?
That ain't all I do. I mean, that's just a
Okay,
small
okay.
part of what I do. That ain't all. Don't limit me to just that shit.
I'm going to give you a brief exam. In 1976, how many people was incarcerated in the criminal justice system?
You said 76. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Nah, come on.
Let me answer it for you. It was 278,000 people in prison. In 2024, it's 2.3 million people in prison. Now, I don't know what your perspective is, but if you could tell me legitimately how that happened, then I could say, you're right, man. And black folks is doing it to themselves. And another thing I want to ask you.
No, wait, hold on a second. Wait, slow down.
Slow down.
I
ask you one more question. I will ask you one more question.
Ahead.
So if we complicit, if we have a lot to do with it, if it's our fault, then tell me, did all those slaves, if we lost more people in slavery than our Jewish brothers lost in the Holocaust? We lost over 250 million people in the transatlantic slave trade.
Right.
So you tell me, did all those people ask to come here? And how do you get 278,000 people in 1976 to 2.3 million, which you just quoted in 2024? And tell me that that's not by design, brother.
Wait. Hold on a second. Let's slow down. Let's make sure that we're on the same page, because what you just said ain't what I said. Not at all, right? I respect you, brother. Look, I love you. I think you got a lot of fucking knowledge. I really do, and I respect you. But I want to make sure that we're saying the same thing, okay? I'm going to answer your questions. Are we complicit in what other people are doing to us? No. If somebody is fucking beating on you and you receiving an ass whooping, you're not complicit in that ass whooping unless you continue to take it. If you have the ability to stop that motherfucker from kicking you in your ass, then yeah, you need to get up and fucking fight your way out of that corner. Like I said before, even a dog would fucking come out of a corner if you beat him too much. He gonna rip your ass apart, or either he gonna run through you. Now, if you have the ability to say, hey, motherfucker, get your fucking hands off me, you need to say that shit. If you have the ability to fucking put a motherfucker down, yeah, you need to do that shit. If you sit down and you become a fucking doormat for somebody, then yeah, you complicit in that shit if you take that ass whooping. Not only that, you would be complicit in something if you repeat the bullshit that somebody told you just because they want to take you down, and then you repeat this shit, then yeah, you are complicit in that. But am I saying that all black people are complicit in the shit that other people are doing to them? Absolutely not. Right now, to answer your question, how did we get to that 2.2 million? It's because the prison industry was outsourced. The prison industry was outsourced to people, and because the prison system was outsourced, they wanted to get money. Just kind of like how the military system was outsourced. They got to keep in order to keep their contracts, there has to be a reason for them to be open. And in order to have that reason for them to be open, they have to have a certain a number of people.
When you say outsource, does that mean privatized? Is that the same thing?
Exactly. So every prison system is run by the federal government. It's called the Bureau of Prisons. The Bureau of Prisons, they keep track of the number of people that's in the prison, the race of the people that is in the prison, and how long they're going to be there. They feed this information to and through the FBI. Now, here's another fun fact for you. When you go to prison, you only have 4 races to choose from. You only have black or negroid, white or Caucasoid, Asian or Mongoloid, and then Australoid. All right. Everybody that don't fit into one of those 4 categories, they get picked to where they go. All right.
Okay.
Notice what I'm saying. Hispanic is not in
my
there.
Interview, man. I thought this was my interview.
He said, "This come on now, Pimpin Ken. Listen, you gotta open the floor. Every pimp respect another pimp. All right."
Okay. Pimp, check this out. Let me say this here. We try to save our people right now. You know what I'm saying?
I agree, man. I'm agreeing with you.
Fuck the criminal justice system. Like, that motherfucker got 10 years of my life. So if Magic Johnson came to me and said, "Nigga, this is how you not get AIDS," I'm listening to Michael Jackson. Well, nigga ain't never did it. You can't tell me nothing about that motherfucking AIDS.
That was amazing. That was amazing. That was amazing.
First of all, let's talk about a dog. So Pimp did a study with the dogs. What he did, he fed these dogs every day at a certain time. And when he fed them, he would ring the bell. The more he ring the bell, every time he ring the bells, those dogs would come every day to get that's called conditioned response. If an elephant, you put a motherfucking,
I agree.
Put a chain on the motherfucking elephant feet, and that elephant had that chain on his feet for a whole fucking year. Guess what's gonna happen? He gonna get immune to that fucking chain. This is called conditions and response. A lot of this shit,
conditional
like
response,
the brother said, is socially engineered. Let me give you a little history, because you know
I'm agreeing with you, right?
I know
I'm agreeing with what you're saying.
But let me give you some history, though, right? So in 1865, a European by the name of Abraham Lincoln allegedly freed the slaves.
Allegedly, right? Allegedly,
So from 1865, for 12 years, you had what you call Reconstruction. During that time, black people did everything that you said. They pulled themselves up from their bootstraps. They did really, really well. And then what happened? A thing came out called the 13th and the 14th Amendment. That was around 1886. So the 13th and 14th Amendment, it says slavery is abolished, except in the 13th Amendment, it says slavery is abolished when one duly commits a crime. Then in 1886, something else came out called Black Codes. So Black Codes was a way to reincarcerate our people back into the prison system. So if you looked at a white woman, you was instantly incarcerated. So that's how they was able to trick us back into slavery. You understand me? So a lot of that stuff transpired. And then a lot of other things, such as Jim Crowism. And then something else happened in 1954. They called Brown versus Board of Education. You know what I'm saying? When they said they banned it, segregation. Martin Luther King, he came back and fought for the civil rights in 1964. But Martin Luther King, after he fought for the civil rights and Lyndon B. Johnson gave them civil rights, he retracted what he said. He said, "I believe I led my people into a burning house."
Into a burning house.
So the problem, brother, is
he was talking about the Democratic Party. He wasn't talking about America. He was talking about the Democratic Party.
No, he wasn't talking about it.
He was talking about America. He was talking about America.
Once we start integrating with white folks, niggas' chickens start tasting nasty. We start eating Kentucky Fried Chicken. Bobby's Hotel wasn't good enough. We started staying at the High Regency. And how many times we said as kids, "Oh man, that's in a good neighborhood. That's the white neighborhood." We started using this psychology because the white man, and I ain't talking about the white man, the system, systemic racism and white supremacy put us in such a position where we immediately, like the sister said, we start having mental illness, because if you tell somebody that they better than you, if white supremacy is the truth, and a lot of people know white supremacy is a religion, if that's the truth, then you think white people are better than you. And when you look at your history book, you see George Washington, he's one of the greats, and Jackson, one of the greats, and then you read farther, and they both are slave owners, but these was considered America's greats. You look at Maynard Keynes, you look at Karl Marx, you look at Einstein, and they all European, but there's no Mansa Musa, there's no Suna Ali, there's no Imhotep, there's no positive images of our people.
Imhotep.
Yeah, that adds into the psychology of how we acted, my brother. You know what I'm saying? It ain't just the white man. It's it's called systemic racism, called white supremacy. Francis Quest Wolfe said the biggest fear of every white man is the black man dick. Why? Because the black man dick can wipe a whole race out through genetics. It's called genetic annihilation. Yeah. We have what we call melanin in our skin. That's formed in the early fetus. We have 11 pigments. The only thing that's close to us is the chimpanzee. It had 12 pigments. But white folks only have 5 pigments. That's
Oh,
what creates more
no.
children.
Look, white people way closer to chimpanzees than black people are.
No,
way
what I mean,
fucking
I'm
closer.
talking-
Way
no,
fucking
brother,
closer.
I'm talking about
If you look at a
skin color,
fucking
bro.
chimpanzee, he pale face
No,
and thin pink lips.
I'm not talking about no monkey. We ain't talking about monkey. We talking about skin color. We talk about when that sun hit your ass and you understand you don't burn up. We talk about the reason why you don't get skin cancer. We talk about why you so fucking intelligent because of the melanin in our skin. We are the original people. Basically, what I'm telling you, but it's an attack on us. This is the reason why. Because of our intelligence, because of our ability to wipe, genetically to wipe people out off the planet. You know, they had slaves here called indigent servants before us. But them slaves could stay in that hot sun all day like our folk parents and our ancient grandmamas and ancient grandpapas. You know what I'm saying? We are a superior people. That's why we so attacked. Every time you look at the news, it's like you said, my brother, it's a negative image of us on the news. It's a reason for that. Because look what they gave us, the shit that they call the scum and earth hip hop, and look what we did with hip hop. You can't play music without listening to hip hop. We dominate everything that we do.
All right, y'all. That does it for part 1. Stay tuned for part 2 of our interview with the legend, Pimpin Ken. What black men like? We out of here. Deuces.